everybody, welcome to Fashionlinknow channel. My name is Anna Vasiljevic and I'm a founder of a Fashionlinknow educational platform and also one of the mentors at the Fashionlinknow platform. Today I decided to talk about how to make your fashion brand more sustainable. Sustainable fashion is something that was important in the past, and it's important today, and it will definitely be important in the near future at least. Something that it's personally important to me since I'm doing my PhD research when it comes to sustainable fashion as important part of art and of course the fashion industry. So I decided to talk about, because lately I was getting a lot of questions about this topic, and it's, well, let's say that it's still not researched enough so that we can have huge conclusions, so it's still kind of in a fog. But I will try to make it easier for you, even if you haven't heard anything about sustainable fashion, it's a new topic, or maybe you heard something. I will try to make it closer to you, and if you are thinking about starting your fashion brand and you want to make it sustainable, I will give some tips how you can do it. If you like this kind of videos, be sure to subscribe and click on the bell button to be notified every time when the new video comes out. And now let's start our sustainable fashion story. The reason why I decided to talk about sustainable fashion is just if we go to the basic data that is coming out, and I'm sure you are bombed with this kind of data every day, or you can read some article about sustainable fashion. Well, I will just give you a quick fact. So basically, if you are not a designer, or even if you are part of the fashion industry, I think the awareness of non-sustainability in fashion is not raised enough. We had this problem also in the past when the Industrial Revolution happened, and when there were some, let's say, small artistic organizations who were fighting against industrialization of the fashion and trying to save the cultural heritage and the traditional techniques of making clothes and all the details of the fashion industry. The reason why they didn't succeed was because of the media. So media plays a really important role when it comes to the raising the awareness of the fashion and sustainability. I promised the quick facts. So the quick facts is that as a consumers buying the fashion clothes, 50% or even more clothes is never used, believe it or not. In last 30 to 40 years, non-sustainability raised for 400 times. Basically, every year, more than 11 billion waste is thrown away somewhere. And most of the materials used as a part of the mass production are not even recycled. Also, the conditions where the people in the fashion industry are working are truly bad. So even these quick tips are giving you a view or what is going on in the fashion industry and why this cannot be good for the future of the fashion industry. How we can be part of the change? Well, we can start small, we can fight, we can try, we can do small steps to a big change, hopefully. And even though I was earlier on the designer for the mass production, I will not completely attack the mass productions, because with my research I get to the data and I can see that even the mass production brands are also working on sustainability. So it is not the truth that only small designers are, you know, making an effort, but of course this is a difficult process and you have to give up a lot when it comes to the mass production. So awareness about how this change can be important can be truly demanding and a great challenge. At the end, fashion industry is very profitable, so I guess it's difficult to give up of the profit. But the things that even the mass production brands are working on, it's something that I will also mention today. So this is something that can be done. But if you are starting a fashion brand and you want to make it sustainable, I will start with the quick tips that can be easy made, and you can make it immediately if you are starting or you want to make a small change with your fashion brand. let's start. So the first, let's say, advice or a way to make your brand sustainable is to use organic fabrics. Organic, well, it sounds easy because sometimes some of the organic fabrics such as silk are not that cheap to use, or let's say affordable to find. So I guess what you can do when you are planning your collection is to planning the way to use this kind of fabrics in affordable way for you, to make it at the end with the retail price something that is acceptable for your brand. So what you can use is, of course, organic fabrics, and not to be focused only on, for example, cotton or silk. You can get informations about fabrics, whether they're, you know, how the main fibers were raised, or they were raised with the pesticides, or they were raised with without some pesticides on the farms. And you can get the origin of each fabric and choose the fabrics that are more sustainable, more natural, and more organic. The second way how you can make it sustainable is to do or to use recycled fabrics. Well, this doesn't mean that you have to use only the organic or natural fabrics, naturally made fabrics. I know that now it's very difficult to find the pure cotton, or even if you find a pure cotton fabric, sometimes it's even more expensive than some fabric that looks alike a cotton. So because of the finances, you usually, well, when you're starting your brand, you're taking care of the finances, so you're thinking like, okay, you know, I will choose the bad thing instead of the good thing. But now you have a lot of recycled fabrics. Even the synthetic fabrics are something that can be recycled. Industry and technology went very further on, so you can now find recycled fabrics when it comes to the hemp, when it comes to the cotton, when it comes to the polyester, when it comes to the wool. 95%, for example, of the wool fabrics can be fibers can be recycled, so this is a good news. So if you can, and if you have a choice, definitely use recycled fabrics and recycled fibers. Third tip would be using textile from scraps. I know that maybe many of you already use this kind of technique called patchwork, for example, but I find this very important because I had experience as a designer at the beginning of my career. When you are cutting and doing the patterns for your models or for your creations, there are a lot of ways that you just throw away and never use again. So I'm not talking about completely unused tubes of fabrics. I'm talking about scraps that are left when you are cutting the pieces and when you're cutting the parts of your creation. So instead of throwing this away, you can just keep it and make a new fabric from this. It can be artistic, it can be innovating, it can be new. There are a lot of techniques that are helping you how to do this. Actually, I had this project that I was doing with the scraps that I even made the knitwear. So you can see some parts behind me. But definitely one of the techniques, patchwork, can help you keep the scraps, make a new fabric, and reuse it again for the new creations and new collections. Try it out. Fourth tip would be using vintage fabrics. There are a lot of, places where you can find some, let's say, old pieces of clothes that cannot be used again, but they're part of the fabrics that actually can be reused for the new creations. On the other hand, there are a lot of places where you can find, some hidden places where you can find fabrics that were never used. Normally, these are the small pieces, but if you are making like a small authentic capsule collection for your brand, or you want to support the idea of sustainability, I definitely support using of the vintage fabrics for your collections. Another tip another way to make your brand sustainable is using zero waste techniques. This is a process that it's still developing when it comes to the pattern, and you have designers who are already using these techniques in a different way. So you have designers who are using the draping and making a free forms from the scraps or from the fabric made of scraps or from the fabric that are generally got into it to use it for their collections. So zero waste patterns are something that it's an important part of the sustainability and sustainable research when it comes to the patterns. The reason why some designers find it difficult is because you kind of feel limited with the patterns coming from the zero waste for what you want to show when it comes to your brand or what you want to show when it comes to your collections. And this is still something in a place for research, but this doesn't mean that you cannot use it. For example, I will give you the example of the pattern that is well known and that can be done multiply with the zero waste technique, and that's kimono. So kimono is one of the, let's say, forms that can be used for the coat, that can be used for the dress, for the shirt, and something that if you're starting you can think about, and you can find some, let's say, traditional pieces that can be easily made with the zero waste pattern techniques, and you can try it out if this fits into your fashion brand strategy and visual, let's say, appearance of your fashion brand. So the next way to make your brand sustainable is again about scraps. Maybe there are some of you who are not, let's say, skilled enough to use the scraps the proper way, or you are not interested in this kind of techniques as a patchwork or a jig puzzle. So what I recommend, definitely, if you don't know what to do with the scraps, is to find companies that you can give away your scraps that can do recycling and reuse these scraps in a proper way. Especially if you're working, for example, with the cotton pieces or with the cotton fabrics. So whether they're in the color or just plain with the white and black, it doesn't matter. Don't just throw it away in a garbage and leave it behind. Be aware of what you are doing and find the companies who can do recycling and reuse these scraps in a proper way. Another way to be sustainable, another topic as a part of sustainability, and I get a lot of questions about this even from my students, is about leather. Whether the leather is sustainable, whether this is a proper way. We have vegan organizations, we have people who are talking about whether leather can be used in a sustainable way, etc., etc. So there are a lot of doubts and a lot of questions when it comes to this topic. I'm not the designer who is using the real leather. So as far as the leather, I prefer to use, of course, the, let's say, fake leather. And now I will get a lot of questions. Okay, I know, but the fake leather doesn't look that good. It is a synthetic, it's a fake material, so it doesn't look like a real leather. I don't think so. I think today industry and technology went up, and you can now find, let's say, the leather that it's fake and that it truly can look like a real leather. On the other hand, you can now find bio-vegetable leathers. So you can now find soil leather, even the mushroom leather. So you can find a lot of ways, if you are into the leather design, how you can use it in a sustainable way. So there are answers, and I just gave you some quick tips, and you can research it even more. Try it out. Final way to make your brand sustainable, or let's say a tip to make your brand more sustainable, is to push make to stock and to pull make to order. What this means, you don't have to make a massive production pieces and to keep it in a stock. You can push your clients or your target group to get used to made to order pieces that are made in a slow fashion way, and that on the other hand can be more unique and more original. So do your marketing in a right way Don't do it and don't push it to be as a stock maker of your fabrics or your models. Do it made to order. It's going to be even more fun process. It's going to be slow fashion, and it's going to be more authentic and original. So I think sustainability can be done even if you're a small brand, or even if you're a startup brand, if you have awareness to make it more sustainable. So my creatives, I hope this ways to make your fashion story to be sustainable were very useful for you, or at least they will make you think about it. I hope I made it clear how you can make some parts even now when you are starting it. So I hope it was at the end useful. If you like this kind of videos, be sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, leave it below. I'm open to hear your questions and thoughts, and I will be seeing you very soon in one of my next videos. Till then, bye bye.